It's not showing that I'm live. Let me see. So, let's see here. Give me one sec.
Sure.
Okay, that should be good. All right, so today we are here with Mr. Tree Orb Perry. How do you say your last name? Yarbrough?
Yeah, Yarbrough.
Yarbrough. Okay. So we're here
Yeah,
with Mr.
Yarbrough.
Tree Orb Terry Yarbrough. How did that name Tree Orb came about?
Well, actually, it was one of the first things that I noticed when sort of my third eye opened is I would see lights in the trees, and I kind of unexpected to see this kind of thing. I thought it was a radio tower behind the trees, but turned out there's actually starting to see tree piranha, and it showed up first as orbs. It's actually surrounding the whole thing, but so I started a channel called Tree Orbs. I found out that I could photograph it actually, so
Very
it's kind of where
interesting.
the name
Wow.
came from.
Interesting. So how did you go from that kind of sort of thing to going to telekinesis and whatnot?
Well, I've been in telekinesis since I was a kid, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've been into witchcraft and the occult since I was a little bitty thing, and I'd kind of been moving little things around when I was little, and just kind of discovered a few years ago that I could move aluminum cans sometimes, and I
Wow.
get lucky. So
That's
yeah,
very
I
interesting.
kind of want to show people that so they get into a spiritual practice. It's kind of like a gateway thing, you know.
Interesting.
So teach
Wow.
people how to do it, and then they can get into it and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen a few Riveros. Very impressive. It's one thing if you're kind of like waving your hand or something like that, but you're clearly like, just using not even like your because even myself, even if I'm using like a glass container over an object, I still use my hands because I feel like it's still magnetism or chi or whatever you want to call it still comes out of my hands, and I have to connect it to the object using my hands. But when I watch you, you're not even using it. You're just like looking at the thing, and you can just tell. You can, see probably if I have to guess auras and whatnot and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's I try to keep the movement to a minimum because I know that's what the critics will say is that it's air and all that kind of thing. I don't think you can ever prove telekinesis with a video, though.
I
I
agree.
don't think
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
certainly. It's definitely, yeah, I definitely agree.
but
So,
it's
Terry, sorry, go ahead.
mhm. No, I was just going to say that even if you can do something very impressive, even if a critic was right there looking at you do it, he probably would find some way to deny that you did it. So
Yeah,
nobody
definitely.
can.
Yeah, definitely. That's just kind of how it is, I guess. So, how exactly, how long have you actually been doing this practice for?
Oh Lord, with the cans, I guess it was about 4 years ago that I noticed on Halloween night. Actually, I noticed that I could move a can, um, and it was a shock to me. I've never moved anything quite that big. I'd always been with the aluminum foil, like balanced on a needle, that typical sort of telekinetic machines that people
Mhm.
can build, which
Mhm.
is completely fine. I don't think you have to be able to move large objects. I don't think that's the point. I mean, I think the point is to see that we have power. And when people see that they can move small objects and they can convince themselves they can do it, it encourages them to be able to maybe look into other deeper things like manifesting your reality and that sort of
Right.
thing. So
Certainly. Yeah, definitely. So you started out with a side wheel and stuff like that, and it sounds like you kind of transitioned to moving cans and whatnot. So Terry, um, exactly how do you like do you do some type of like energy raising practices like meditation or yoga or qigong or something like that?
I just really follow what I learned as a child as far as like standing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the star position where you stand in like the shape of a pentagram. Just stand up with
Really?
your feet like, yeah, you shoulder width apart with your feet. You got your arms out to the side straight, like you're trying to fly or something. Left hand down, right hand up. And you breathe in the chi and you build your body full of white light. You'll feel your fingers tingling. And then you sit down and try to do your telekinesis practice. And after a little while, you've released that energy. You have to ground it to give it some place to go, and then recharge and retry. People try to do telekinesis with dead batteries sometimes, and they have limited success with it. So you got to charge
Interesting.
up.
Right, right. You mentioned your a knowledge with of the occult, so to speak, and whatnot. I honestly come from, I guess, more of a chi background, if you will, qigong and stuff like that's mostly what I've kind of done and what I'm familiar with. I'm not too familiar with like the occult stuff, like these charts and stuff like that back here. And when I it's I'm interested in them, like it's cool and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not my expertise. Could you explain a little bit on how that can help you improve your practice and whatnot?
Well, the occult side of it is this part that I know anyway is just really just building energy in the body. I read a book when I was a little guy called The Magic Power of Witchcraft by Gavin and Yvonne Frost. And this book was written right at the beginning of Wicca, before Wicca became sort of overpowered in the movement, and people still did magic with power. Most of the magic now you read about in common bookstores, you're not going to find a whole lot about building energy, raising the cone of power and all that kind of thing. So, but a lot of the way that I move the cans, especially when I don't use my hands. Have you ever heard of the term samadhi?
I believe it sounds familiar, but I'm not. Is that
Okay.
like a
Well, that's
Vedic thing, if I'm not mistaken?
yes, yes. It's
Yeah.
actually it's in everything. It's in everything. It's the demonolators call it ascension. In yoga and the Vedic stuff, they call it samadhi. In black magic left hand path, it's called the crossroads state. Oh my gosh. John D, I think he called it the meta, opening up to the metaverse or meta world. Probably a lot of terms I'll think of after the little interview is over. But basically, what it is you calm the mind, focus on one thing, and then you disappear and become the thing. And usually, that's when the can will move. Is when I do the
Interesting.
samadhi on it. Yeah. So I think there's an untapped power as far as for actually not just moving cans around, but actually like creating real tangible changes in real time in the world around us. But we have to be able to do samadhi on a deep enough level to access that power. Like people do samadhi, they'll have visions of the astral realm. Like when they scry into a crystal ball or something, they will see visions from the astral. If you can go deeply enough, then you go into the God realm. That's where there's white light and things happen, kind of manifest in real time in the physical. That's kind of what I'm working at. That's what I want to achieve.
Interesting. That's really cool. So, Terry, I've seen a lot of your TK demo and stuff like that. Do you mess with the weather stuff at all, like aerokinesis, atmokinesis, or anything like that?
I've played with it a little bit. Like when I would need some wind to blow, like if I'm at work and I'm hot, I need the wind to blow. I'll try to enter into like a samadhi to get the wind to come, and it's worked a little bit. But I've mainly stayed away from that because it's so easy for people just to say, it would have done that anyway. But I'm
Right.
definitely a believer in it. I believe people can do it, you know, for sure. I never discourage any, even when I see someone doing telekinesis that I'm almost certain is fake, I still will like it. And, because it kind of raises the consciousness of TK, like Trevor Seven would always say. He said, watch even fake telekinesis because it gets your mind going in that direction
Right.
to
Right.
believe it's possible. So
Yeah.
that's what I usually do.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's definitely a great attitude to have and a good thing to keep in mind for sure. So Terry, what is like the heaviest object you've ever been able to influence?
Do what? Say that one more time.
Oh, what is the heaviest object you've ever been able to move?
Well, um, being calm, just the cans, but in the past, that psychic energy becomes much stronger when you're angry, and I've used anger to flatten tires and stuff. Like I got mad at somebody one time and flattened their tires, and but I can't just drum up that kind of anger to move a can. So that has to be when someone's wronged me, you know, get mad enough, it increases the power output. So I've done some things like that before.
That's
But
really interesting. I mean, everybody's different, but for me, I feel like from my direct experience, when I'm like angry or when I'm anxious or something like that, or nervous, I don't feel like I get very good
mhm,
results doing TK stuff. But that's certainly
right.
interesting. I guess I guess anger does kind of that yang energy, if you will, kind of can maybe like influence objects more and stuff like that, maybe perhaps. Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow. So Terry, what do you want to ultimately achieve in your pursuit of this telekinesis journey, if you will, and also in your spiritual journey? What is your ultimate goal that you want to achieve?
Well, I guess on the first hand, I'd like to get as many people doing telekinesis as possible. I feel like science is sort of brainwash people to believe that that sort of thing isn't real, and they're very materialistic in their view. And I would like for people to realize that they have power and can actually manifest what they want out of life. I've manifested everything that I want. I mean, magic magic is a real thing. People try to define uh, what happens psychologically, or describe it with the brain. I know the astral world is a real world. There's the other dimensions. When you do this telekinesis, you're affecting the astral. Magic is about affecting the astral. Me personally, on my goal spiritually, is just to find meaning, to achieve spiritual immortality,
Wow.
conscious immortality. That would be good enough for me. So I do practices initiating through the cliff off. If you know anything about the dark tree, the cliff off
I do
tree.
not. Like I
Um,
said, it's not my expertise, the occult stuff. So could you tell me what that
right,
is?
right. Well, it's I'm not an expert on it at all, but it's you got the Sephiroth, which is the tree of light, and then you got the shadow side of that's the dark tree. So you initiate through different points of it, and you grow. It basically challenges you in each spot, and you grow and develop abilities, and it changes the kind of person you are. They say. So I'm about halfway up the dark tree now in my initiation, but yeah, I'm seeking for basically spiritual immortality, some sort of answer to the riddle of life. I think we all are after that eventually at some point.
Interesting. Wow. So what do you say spiritual immortality? Um, are you? It's not like a physical immortal where you live forever. You mean do you want to like ascend into becoming um, like a like a I don't know how to phrase it, like for a lack of a better word, like a demigod, if you will. Is that what you're pursuing?
Not well, I wouldn't say no to that, but no, more along the lines of dying and conscious rebirth, where I'm aware and remember that sort of thing. You don't forget who you are from one life to the next, that sort of thing. So you kind of come back
Interesting.
with a little bit of control, and you don't forget from one life to the next. So to me, that would be immortality. It's changing
Wow,
bodies.
that's really interesting. That is so cool. Yeah, like I've interviewed many people. Most people that I interview come from some understanding of chi and stuff like that. You were honestly the first person that I got to speak to coming from an occult background, and so I find that to be very interesting and stuff. And yeah, certainly to get like a different perspective and different insight on things is definitely interesting for sure. So Terry, do you have any advice on people that want? I'm sure you get messages on YouTube comments all the time and stuff like that, but do you have any advice on people that are getting into telekinesis? Well, what is the great advice that I have newbies, if you will, that are coming up trying to learn the skill?
Read old books. Read old books. The new books, I haven't seen any that's very good on magic. I come at from a magical perspective, but just learn to charge your body full of prana or chi or whatever you refer to it as. I see it as white light around people. Your chakras, open the chakras up all the way down to the ground and back up. Get your kundalini activated. Get the third eye open. Affecting the world, I think, comes through the third eye. I think you affect the world around you through your third eye. That's my opinion. And practice believing yourself. Start out small, little things, psi wheels and stuff. And if you can move a psi wheel, and then you learn to cast a circle and build energy in a circle, you can cast spells that will change your life in scary, scary, powerful ways that is incredible. Just moving small objects, your power in spell and circles will be like a rifle, like a high powered rifle. I mean, you don't know the power. If you can move just a little bit of something, you can change your whole world with spells, with circles. You put the circle around you and you pull the energy down into your body, but you fill the circle up with you. So it acts as a second body to contain the chi force, and then you send it out with emotion to accomplish a goal. That's the big deal. I mean, the telekinesis stuff, I don't know if we'll ever get it powerful enough to pull a remote to us from across the room or do anything massive like that. But a little bit of telekinesis is a good measure for an incredible amount of magical power.
That's great advice. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. Excuse me. Last question for you, Terry. Can you perform any other metaphysical abilities or like practice stuff like seeing without eyes, remote viewing, like astral projection and whatnot? Do you practice any of these things at all?
Yeah, all of them. Um, yeah, the third eye, when it opens, you begin to be able to see outside of the body, see through time. That's scrying into crystal balls or scrying into mud, sand, gravel, the air, tree bark. You start to see spirit in everything. And astral projection is just holding your point of awareness outside of your body until the visions come. And yeah, remote viewing is just shutting the eyes and seeing visions. All of it comes from a silent mind. You got to be able to make your mind deathly quiet and relax. And you open your chakras, get the third eye open. If you silent the mind and relax, all the visions will come to you. You'll be able to do all the astral projection and all that kind of thing. Sure.
Awesome, awesome. That is so cool. All right. Any final thoughts, Terry? Any thing you want to say that you have in mind, perhaps, or anything?
Just I appreciate the chance to come on. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
awesome. Oh, no, no, no. Oh no, I wanted you to say something, but yeah, no, I likewise. I mean, I've been a huge fan of your work. I like the fact that you do commentary and stuff like that in your videos. A lot of people just like put out a demo. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can definitely tell that you put in a lot of work towards making a quality video on your channel and stuff like that. So I really appreciate your effort as well and stuff and spreading this beautiful practice to the world and stuff like that. I think you're a great ambassador in our community. And I just I met you for the first time today. I can already tell you're a great guy as well, and I like the vibe and stuff like that. And you definitely gave me a different insight on things that I'm not too familiar with. So this was a really cool experience. So I just want to say thank you for that. So
Yeah, thank you. And I sent you my number. So anytime, man, that you feel like talking, and hey, just call me up. I'm an open book with other practitioners and stuff I've met on YouTube. They call me up quite often on my personal number, and we chat. So, I don't think I'll ever charge for anything
That's
because I think
wonderful.
this is free. I think it's something that everyone should be able to learn how to do if they have an
I, I
interest in it.
I agree. I mean, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. I mean, my goal initially was kind of to sort of become like the Trevor Seven, like figure, if you will, at one point. But I don't think I have those motivations or goals and aspirations like that anymore. I just kind of want to see where this stuff goes. Kind of want to just do it as a hobby, and I mean, I've always done it as a hobby, but like I don't ever see myself being a quote unquote teacher or anything like that. I think anybody can learn this, and really, it is a lot simpler than a lot of people think. If you're just like, if you just visualize like aura energy, whatever you want to call it, flowing around the object, eventually it'll move. And if you want to raise your energy, just meditate. So it's just, yeah, it's a lot more. There's not a whole lot to teach, and I don't see myself being a guru or anything. So yeah, so I'm with you, man. So
Yeah, it's amazing the similarities that people come up with. As far as like you're saying, the feeling the energy flowing around it, and yeah, people come up with the same sort of. When we learn how to do it, you discover the same things. We're discovering or rediscovering something I think people have known more so a long time ago. It's kind of like we're rediscovering old technology, old methods.
yeah, definitely. That's definitely a great way to look at it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much. Definitely, guys, check out his YouTube channel, Tree Orb. It's an amazing channel. I'm a big fan of it, and I think you'll get to see Terry do some really cool cam move and stuff, which not many people can pull it off often. So Terry's the real deal, and he's one of the few people that I really um, recommend. So, okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for this interview, Terry. And yeah, maybe in the future we'll chat again and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ken. Thank you for your time, buddy.
yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you guys next time. So.